Okay, so it's been about 10 seconds. It's actually been closer to 20. I am pulling up the cross-stitch chart. I did try to get the camera to do two cameras, one being the main one, and then one being the one that just shows my hands while I'm working. For some odd reason, it's being cranky, so I will just periodically hold this up to show you where we're at. This is what we got so far. Looks pretty good. But we'll be continuing with that cross stitch tonight. Looking to do about an hour. I've got my alarm set on my phone, as I tend to. So, we are over here on this side. Okay, there. Two. Then a bunch of spaces, then two spaces, then a bunch all the way over, but it looks like, hold on, I'm trying to make certain I'm doing this in the right spot. Okay, yeah, so this one ended 3 stitches from the end. Cool. And the next one actually is even further back than that. So, can skip that one. B1. Two. But we're 2 back from where we were. Oh, hey, there's actually... So I need to go all the way over here. And do one little cross. So this starts a kind of weird thing with the pattern. It's going to look good once it's done. But for the moment, it's going to look kind of weird because it's going to be like, well, what is this way over here? And remember, this is just a test project, me playing around, trying something with this new pattern I found. So, okay, so that would be first stitch. So right there. I am very grateful to the person who handed me the pattern. They had found it free online. There are, of course, some excellent not free patterns out there. But in this case, I'm just doing this because, hey, I had it handy, and also I am... Okay, 6 in a row. I'm trying not to do any major projects right now because I am in the process of starting the new job, well, finishing up training for the new job. Tomorrow is my last day of on-the-job training, which means the last day that I have to get up stupid early. And yes, that is a point of contention for me, having to get up at that flipping early hour. I'm actually going to be getting a day less of work this week because my schedule should have started the new schedule today. However, it turns out that the on-the-job training goes 1 day more than I had realized, which means that tomorrow is my last day of on-the-job training. But that means that I did not work today, and unless I decide to pick up overtime to cover that missing time, then I will not be getting my full week's pay. But I've already talked to my boss about it, and I've decided that I would rather miss that one day, and of course not be penalized because I wasn't scheduled to work it. The only penalty will be out of the paycheck. But miss that one day, yes. However, it means that I have had a little bit of extra time to get our house ready for listing. Not a ton, mind you, but because today was actually mostly spent out and about with my family. There's been some stuff going on in the background that I'm not going to really mention here, but certain members of our family have really felt the need to reconnect with each other. And so we spent a day out and reconnecting and feel a bit better about each other because of it. Okay, so 1, 4, 5, 6. That's my 6. Okay, now 2 white spaces. 1, 2, this one. Hopefully, once I get on my regular schedule and I'm less tired and cranky and some other things that have been going on get worked out, I will be able to pick up the projects that I've been languishing for far longer than intended. I still need to finish the memorial plushie, and I always feel bad about how long it takes me to finish those. But there's some it's a struggle for me when I'm doing them, because what if I don't do them right? What if they don't look good enough? These are people's beloved animals that I am trying to memorialize, and that's a very serious thing. I mean, that's kind of the love of someone's life. Just because they're an animal doesn't mean that you don't love them dearly. A lot of people consider their animals their children, but they're definitely a member of the family just as much as anyone else. So yeah, there's a lot of pressure to get it right, especially when, it was such a hard thing to say goodbye to the animal. And it ends up resulting in me having kind of a freezing up, and I hate that I do it because, people want these plushies as soon as possible so that they can have them as part of the mourning process, and here they're not getting them. As soon as they should, because I'm going, oh God, what if I fuck it up? So yeah, it's kind of a thing. There's a lot of what is really social anxiety because of it. I've also got another set of blanket squares that need to be done. In fact, 2 sets again, for comfort quilts for some members of my guild who are struggling with health issues or other issues and could use a hug in the form of yarn. Thankfully, those are not expected until June, so I have plenty of time on those still. But for right now, I'm trying to just focus on the small things, get those done, and then I'll worry about the bigger things. Because there's just so much going on right now. And a lot of it I can't really talk about because it's very personal to people. And while I try very hard to be an open book, I also try not to air other people's laundry for them. But there are things happening in the background of my life that I'm not entirely sure what to think of or what to do about. And it's definitely shaking things up here in my household, and we're all just kind of hanging on and seeing what happens, I guess. Well, I think I shortened it by a stitch at some point. Oh well, it looks fine. But yeah, there's a lot going on that I'm not going to be able to talk about on stream. Not a case of not my circus, not my monkeys, but not my monkeys to discuss, if it makes sense. If I'm ever given permission to talk about them, I will, but for right now, house hunt is still going on. I have started the process of depersonalizing our house. It was supposed to go live for sale last Wednesday. It did not. There were some things in the background that delayed things a bit. Some paperwork issues. And so we decided, you know what, we're going to wait a week and go live this coming Wednesday with the house. So we're working on it. It's going to happen. Just taking a bit of time. I just realized that's going to be a problem. Hold on a moment. There we go. Okay. Yeah, it's, like I said, I started the depersonalization process today, and I gotta say, not a fan. My desk still has a lot of personal items on it, but to me it looks very bland compared to what I'm used to. It doesn't have a lot of my personal objects, personal touches that make my desk feel comfortable and homey. I'm confused. I think I need to put in another thing here. I normally have a ton of plushies at my desk. Those almost have all come down. There's a few I couldn't get down myself because I can't actually reach them because I'm short. Even with my grabby tool, I couldn't get them down on my own, so I will have to have somebody help with that, and It's kind of embarrassing to have to ask your, like, 14-year-old, hey, can you come get this down for me? At least for me, because I'm used to being self-sufficient and stuff. I'm trying to work on that. I know I need to be more willing to give others the chance to help me instead of always insisting on being the one helping others. But that doesn't make it easy. Just knowing that does not make it simple. Well, that didn't work. Sorry, trying to fix something that I noticed as a small error. That looks better. So here's what we got so far. It's coming together slowly. Okay, so that gap. One, two, three, four, five, six. I don't know. We are starting to wonder if the house that we had been looking for, a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, is going to be big enough to actually meet the needs we have as a family. Because my partner and I are both prone to picking up people who need a safe spot to get back on their feet. And sometimes that's temporary. In some cases, it's been less so. And our kids are getting older and they're getting less happy about having to share a bedroom. Which, the funny thing is, they still... hey, Zia, they still want to share a bedroom, is the funny thing. They just want to have another space outside their bedroom that can be individual. And what I am working on cross-stitching today is a piece of cake, quite literally. It is going to be the cake that is a lie from Portal. At least if I do it all right. It is a free cross-stitch pattern that a friend of mine passed out to me. But so far, it looks kind of like printing from a dot matrix printer, if you ask me. Which is dating myself quite a bit, I'm sure. Do people still use dot matrix printers? I don't think they do. I am working in rows from top to bottom, yes. This is all black and white, so I don't have to worry about swapping colors. If I were working with multiple colors, I would do all of one color and then all of the next, things like that. In my case, working from the top work better on this particular one because of the fact it's got the cherry stem. And the stem, for me, made a good starting point, and that's where I started it from, was from the stem. But for some people, working from the bottom actually works out really well for them, and there's nothing wrong with it. We all do it in our own separate ways. I think at least one project I did, I worked from side to side with. But this one is going from top to bottom for me, which seems to be working out pretty well because it makes it nice and easy to see everything. I am not even halfway through it, honestly, but I think that I'll make pretty good progress tonight, as long as I can focus and nobody comes in and distracts me, which, I can't guarantee that won't happen. Okay. So, I am about to finish. And not only am I working top to bottom, but I'm also working back and forth on those. So I do a row going one way and then the other. Well, this is a cute little pattern. There's a couple others that I got with it that I think will be good in the long run. I just haven't started them yet. Oh, neat. Oh boy, I should start thinking about Mother's Day, shouldn't I? I always try to give my mom something nice, and then I'm like, okay, but now I need to figure out what to do next year to top what I did this year. And, I normally get her seeds from a seed catalog, a particular company that does heirloom seeds, but I found out this past year that company's been having some kind of shady business practices. And so I'm kind of like, ooh, do I still want to give her this year? But it's one of those, there is no ethical consumption under capitalism, kind of. And you do what you can. So we'll see. I haven't decided yet. I don't even know. When is Mother's Day anyway? I kind of don't pay attention to it. I know Easter is coming up sometime, but I don't know when. Holidays kind of get away from me unless they're like, oh, hey, this is a national holiday, kids are out of school, things like that. If it's like, yes, this is a holiday that people celebrate in our nation, but it isn't a national holiday, nobody closes their store or stuff for it, I'm probably not going to have a clue when it happens. Valentine's Day I always remember because it's always on the same day. But things like Mother's Day and Easter, where it's a moving holiday and it changes dates depending on the year, nah, I'm not going to remember those. Half the time I don't remember what day of the week it is anyway. I'm getting better about that since I've started working again. So there's at least one benefit of having a job. Again, paycheck's nice. Okay, I need to do one more across here. Because, wait. No, I don't. Okay. I need to tie this off and switch to another thread because this one is getting super short on me. And I have reached a point where it is nice and convenient to do that. Okay. am definitely looking forward to the rest of this week after tomorrow, though, because I will finally be on my new shift schedule, which will have me working evenings instead of mornings. Because I do not do mornings, I do not like mornings. Mornings and I have not been on speaking terms for years. And being forced to do mornings for a while has been a real drain on me. So, very happy I won't have to anymore. Okay. For anyone wondering, by the way, this is very cheap embroidery floss that I actually got from a kit from Dollar Tree, because Dollar Tree now sells very inexpensive, well, I mean, they're $1.25 now, but still, they sell little bitty embroidery kits, and I'm a sucker for getting things for under $2, apparently. Even if it's something I would probably not use normally. It's like, it's only $2, or it's only $1. Which is how I end up with, like, little embroidery kits and things like that. Nothing wrong with that, of course. But so this is not your fancy, nice embroidery threads. I mean, there's nothing wrong with using the inexpensive stuff. It's thread. It works. And it's not like it's going to have to, like, hold up to a pair of pants, you know. Hold up a pair of, like, repairs. Repairs, I use the good quality, like, Coats and Clark thread or something like that. Because those have to hold up against the forces of teenage boys or adults or, you know, just movement and friction and all of the stuff that can be really, really hard on thread. But for projects that are like embroidery or things that need to look nice but aren't going to have actual physical stressors, I don't bother with getting the really fancy stuff. I use whatever thread I have handy. Hold on, I am trying to thread this needle. I don't know why I always do that. I always try to thread it first by just pushing the thread through the eye, when I know it's better to actually, like, hold the thread and then push the eye over the thread. It's actually much more effective that way. But I never think to do that until I've tried it like 3 or 4 times the other way and gone, well, this isn't working. No. There we go. Okay. So what was the Mother's Day gift that you finished up, Zia? I am very curious. Also, unlike on my gaming streams, I can actually see chat, so I can respond when people talk to me. There we go. Okay, now, I just finished. 1, 2, 3, 4. So, just finished this one, so now 1, 2, 3. Yet you don't get to tangle. That is one problem with using the less expensive threads is sometimes they are very prone to tangling. However, I can't say that doesn't happen with Coats and Clarks or DCX, the other one, the other major thread label for embroidery floss. And since it happens with those two, I'm not going to say, well, that's just because I'm using cheap thread. It's just something embroidery thread does. So, come on. There we go. Okay. I will say, I tend to say this every week and then I forget and end up doing like an hour or more stream. But today will probably be a shorter stream because I do still have stuffs that need doing. But I'm going to see how much progress I can make on this piece of cake in the shorter amount of time. Ultimate goal, of course, is once I've done proof of concept on this and seen that it is nice and I like it, I will be trying to do a version of it. 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, 6. That is the colors of the asexual pride flag, since one of my kids does have a shirt that says, "My sexuality is cake." He got it because he likes cake, but then later on in life he is thinking more and more about sexualities and thinking he might be asexual, and so, well, okay, I will make something for them. Because I want to support my kids no matter who they love or do not. Plus, nothing wrong with being asexual. I have plenty of friends who are. Could I be asexual? Oh, no. No, I am very pansexual, but I'm pan and polysexual, frankly. I'm like the opposite polarly of ace, but that doesn't mean I don't support those who are ace, and I make it a point to not try and force my own views on love and sex on others. That's not my place. It's their job to love who they love or don't love as it stands. My job is to just be there and support them in any way I can. Because if you can't love your kids, you shouldn't have had them. Like, if you cannot be your children's rock, if you cannot be the support that they need, then you should not be a parent. Simple as that. And I'm not blaming anyone who had kids because they were pressured into it, or because they did not have access to health care that would have prevented their having kids. I'm just saying, if you are not ready to have a kid, then do what you can to ensure that you don't. Because it's not fair to the kids, and it's not fair to the parent either, to have a kid just because they were told, well, this is what you need to do. That's not right. Nobody should be forced into that kind of situation. And that's how you end up with kids who are being abused, and parents who don't like their kids. And it's just bad juju. And I was explaining to one of my sons today that the reason I am very pro abortion is not, oh yes, everyone should get abortions. It's, I would rather children that are not going to be loved and not be born than that children end up living in a house where they are not loved. You know? It's not fair to the kid to force them into that, and it's not fair to the parent to force the parent to have a kid that they won't love. It's just not. Like, hold on, I'm fixing something. One of the things that I like to say is that I love freely and I love deeply, and I do. But I do not expect everyone else to love in the same way that I do. Especially when it comes to loving a child. Because if a person is not ready to be a parent and is forced into that, then they are not going to be the best parent to that kid. They're just not. My mother was an absolutely wonderful mother for me because I was born later in her life when she was ready to have a kid. She was willing to have a kid. She was a terrible mother for my sister because she was tricked into having a kid when she wasn't ready. And she didn't want to be a mom at that point. And so she and my sister had a very, I think the term is fractious relationship. And it's not that my mom was a bad person. It's not that my sister was a bad kid. But my mom was put in a position where she was forced to have a kid before she was ready to have one. And then pretty much as soon as my sister was born, my dad had to leave to go fight in Vietnam. And it resulted in my mom not only suddenly saddled with a kid she wasn't ready for and didn't really want, but also suddenly alone in that situation. And wasn't fair for her. Wasn't fair for my sister. Sorry, we have fruit flies because the weather's been nice and we've had the windows open. But it wasn't fair to her. Wasn't fair to my sister. My mom did have some help in the form of her best friend at the time. They ended up moving in together since both of their husbands were off at the war and they both had young kids. But eventually, some other things went down that were not good, and my granny took my sister and raised her for pretty much until my dad came back home from Vietnam, at which point he wanted her back. Granny, if she'd had it her way, would have gotten my mom out of the way and would have raised my sister as her own child. But of course she wouldn't do that to my dad, so she gave my sister back once Dad was back. But there was always a lot of issues up until my sister was an adult and had kids of her own between my mom and my sister because of that situation when my sister was an infant. And it wasn't fair to either of them. And they're very good friends now, I'll say that. But it was rough for them. I, on the other hand, came much later in my mom's life. She was 38 when she had me. She was early. I think she might have been 23 when she had my sister. But by the time I came around, she was ready to have a kid. And so for me, my mom was an excellent mother. She struggled a lot with my brother, but that wasn't so much she wasn't ready as she was having to go and try to raise my brother to be a good person despite my dad's interference. Because my dad, my brother was his firstborn son, and he wanted to spoil him rotten. Because, well, this is the child that will carry on the family name, yada, yada, yada. And so, ended up with my brother getting very little in terms of discipline and being, frankly, spoiled. He's coming back out of that now that he's older himself, and has seen some of the consequences of his being raised the way he was. 1, 2, 3. I need one more. There we go. But again, you can't. Okay, so here's the thing. Should kids be held responsible for the behaviors that were trained into them by parents who were doing a really bad job of parenting? And at certain ages, no. Like, if a kid has never been introduced to discipline whatsoever, and they are still young enough to not realize that their actions have consequences, then no, I don't blame them for being spoiled brats, frankly. But if that kid is old enough that they have seen consequences, even if they've never suffered those consequences, but they've seen that their behavior can and does have an effect, especially a lasting effect, on other people, then yes, they should be held responsible for that behavior. Like, if a kid is old enough to know that fire hurts, and they have the brilliant idea to shove a lighter against one of her classmates' skin and burn that classmate, then yes, that kid should definitely be facing consequences. A kid who is so young that they don't know that fire hurts should not be given the opportunity to grab a lighter or something that is on fire. That's a failing on the adult for not maintaining the safety of the kids. Like, sorry, if you hand a toddler a cigarette lighter that is easy to turn on, and there are definitely the easy light lighters, it's not the fault of the toddler if he burns down the house. It's the fault of the adult who handed him the thing that let him do it. Now, say an 8-year-old who has seen that, yeah, fire bad. Yes, he should absolutely, he or she, I guess I should say, should absolutely be taken to task if they grab a lighter and set some paper on floor that's on the floor on fire, and then the house burns down. Yeah, the 8-year-old should be getting in trouble for that. There is a certain point where the kid is old enough that they should know better. At the same time, you still have to look at there and go, how did you not teach your kid that this was a bad idea? Oh, and believe me, I am well aware of the stupid things that kids do, even though they know it's a bad idea because it seemed like a good idea at the time. I am so aware of that. I have 14-year-olds. Of course I am aware of that. Because I assure you, they have had some ideas that were monumentally stupid, but to them seemed like a good idea at the time. Okay, good. Now, pop down 2. Not that one. I might end up finishing this row and then calling it for the night. I am not sure yet. I feel like I'm about halfway done. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And the rest is literally just row after row to give the cake its layers. So it's not super complicated or exciting. I'm still going to want to do it on stream, of course. But I'm just saying it might not be something I'm going to do tonight on stream. I might wait and do it next week. I do want to apologize for not having streamed last week, by the way. At least not the crafting stream. I know normally it is every Sunday. Last week I just had so much going on that I was beat by the time that I needed to finish things up and head to bed. And so, yeah. Crafting stream just did not happen last week. The gaming stream did, but that's a lot easier, you know? Gaming stream this week, by the way, will be happening in the middle of the night as opposed to the time that I've been doing it lately, which is from 10 p.m. to 11:30, roughly. And the reason for that is my new schedule, I will be working until 11 p.m. But that means that I don't have to go to bed until like 4 a.m., which means I can do the gaming stream like I used to from 2 a.m. until like 1 to 2 or 1 to 2:30 or 1 to 3 even, because I've done that before too. Generally, I have the longer streams when I can do them in the middle of the night as opposed to late evening as I've been doing them since I started training. Crafting streams, I'm probably going to try and move those to Saturday instead of Sunday. I can't do them on Fridays because I have something else that I do that day that also requires me to be on camera. But yeah, I will be probably moving the crafting streams to Saturdays instead of Sundays. And the gaming streams will just continue to be a Sunday thing, or a Thursday thing, but a middle of the night Thursday thing instead of late evening Thursday thing. So it'll be middle of the night on Thursday, early morning, basically Wednesday going into Thursday. Keep getting these very weird, not quite knots, but they're... I don't like what the fabric's doing, let's put it that way. This one, since it is a test project, is being done on some scrap fabric I had left over from another project, so... So that's how we stand right now. It looks so much better on camera because you guys can't see all the places I've made mistakes. I can. So it's very cute though. I like how it's looking. Alright. But yeah, I do think I'm going to call it here for the night because I do have to start winding down prior to going to bed far earlier than I would like. And getting ready for my last day of on-the-job training where I will be working from 8:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. or 9 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. I have to get up at 8:30, which because of daylight savings time means I'm actually getting up at 7:30, but alright. That said, I do want to thank everyone who made it out to the stream tonight. It was fun chatting with you again, Zia. And I hope that everyone has a beautiful rest of your week. And that you take care of yourselves. You take care of each other. And I'll see you Thursday for the gaming stream.